Before we learn discount amortization, premium amortization, and retirement of a bond, we need to make sure we understand par, discount, and premium bonds. These are important concepts. A par bond is one where the stated interest rate equals the market interest rate. So the bond is on par with the market. A discount bond is one where the stated interest rate is lower than the market interest rate. A premium bond is one where the stated interest rate is greater than the market interest rate. Let us now learn how to do discount amortization on bonds. Let us work with an example. Face value of a bond 100,000. Issue price on the bond is 93,205. Stated interest rate equals 7% and market interest rate equals 8%. Terms of the bond is 10 years and the interest is paid semi-annually. So let us now first write the date of the bond and the amortization schedule. So this is known as the amortization schedule. The cash paid on this bond is nothing but the stated interest rate times the face value, and because the cash is paid semi-annually, it is $3,500. So $3,500 is the interest paid on this bond, but on the date of the issue we have to populate our column on the issue price of the bond. So on the date when the bond was issued, the company received $93,205. They did not receive $100,000. This is very important to understand. The company does not receive the face value except when it's a par bond. If it is a discount bond, they receive less than the face value, and if it is a premium bond, they receive more than the face value. In this case, they have received 93,205, which is the issue price on the bond, also known as the present value of the bond. The interest that the company pays at time is equal to 6 months is $3,500. Now the true interest expense that the company has, so I calculated this here. Now what is the true interest expense? The true interest expense is the market interest rate times 100, sorry, 93205, which is the issue price of the bond, times half. Half because the interest is paid semi-annually. Now, this is a very important point to note, that the annual market interest rate has to be multiplied by the semi-annual factor, which is 1 by 2, times 93205, which is the issue price on the bond and not the face value, to compute the interest expense. So this amounts to 3728, and this has to be populated here. And now you know how that is computed. The difference between the two is $228 between 3,728 and 3,500. The difference is $228, and this $228 has to be added to the initial issue price to arrive at Now this is the carrying value, the latest carrying value of the bond after 6 months. Now at time t is equal to 12, the cash paid on the bond continues to be 7% times 100,000 times half. This is a constant number. However, this number here on the interest expense will change because our carrying value has changed and it's no longer the issue price. So in the next row that we are populating here, we will compute the interest expense based on market interest rate by 100 times the new carrying value here, which I will put as a symbol of this. So the new carrying value, which is 93,433 as shown here. This is my symbol to show it. Times half, because the interest is paid semi-annually, and this amounts to 3737. It's very important that students know how to work this interest payment here, or the cash paid, the interest expense, the difference, and the carrying value. So now the new carrying value on the bond after 1 year is going to be the addition of this 237 to 93433, and that amounts to 93670. You are on the right track if the number keeps going up for a discount bond such that the final amount here is $100,000, and this number here keeps going up as well, and this number here on the interest payment stays constant, and the interest expense is calculated based on the market interest rate as shown. When the company issued the bond, they received only cash of 93205 and not the entire $100,000 in the last slide. Why was that? Because it was a discount bond and the interest rate that they paid out on the bond was lower than the market interest rate. And the company has to debit cash only for 93,205 when they issued the bond. And on that day, they also set up a discount on bonds payable account. And they credit bonds payable. On the maturity date, they have to pay $100,000, and the difference goes into this contra account called discount on bonds payable, which is 6705, the difference between this and this. Now the company has to amortize this discount on bonds payable account each time it pays off some interest. And the way that is done is the company debits the true interest expense, which is 93,205 times 8% times half. So this we calculated to be 3728 in the last slide, and I'm showing that calculation once again here. The company debits interest expense, and then the company amortizes discount on bonds payable. By company, I mean the borrower. It might be a government or a company. Now the discount on bonds payable that is credited has to be calculated after calculating the interest payment, which is 100,000 times the stated interest rate times half, which is 3,500. So the difference between 3728 and 3,500 is 228. So this discount on bonds payable is a way for the company to amortize this amount such that by having these credits over the years on discount on bonds payable, they can write off this contra account called discount on bonds payable. So it has an original debit and a bunch of credits which we computed in the last slide to be 228, 237, so on and so forth, such that at maturity this 6705 gets washed off with all these credits and there is a zero on both sides. Let us now talk about premium amortization. Premium amortization is the opposite of discount amortization, where the stated interest rate is higher than the market interest rate. So let's look at a company where the market interest rate prevailing is 6% and the company offers 7%. The face value of the bond is $100,000 and the interest is paid semi-annually, and the issue price of the bond is given to us already as 107,439. Now the first column here will be the date, the second column will be the interest paid, which is always based on the stated interest rate. The third column is the interest expense, which is based on the market interest rate. The next column is the difference between this column and this column. So difference between 3 and 2, and or 2 and 3, no minus sign there, the absolute value if you will, and the final column is the carrying value. At time t is equal to 0, the issue price is 107,439. At time t is equal to 6, the interest that is paid by the company semi-annually is 3,500. However, the market interest rate, so this is the interest paid, the interest expense equals, notice that I'm using the market interest rate to calculate the interest expense, and I'm using the issue price to calculate the interest expense. So these are the two key things that you have to take away from this slide. Use the market interest rate and multiply by half if it is semi-annual. If it is an annual payment, do not multiply by half, and then multiply it times the issue price and arrive at the interest expense. So now the difference between 2 and 3, so 3 minus 2, the absolute value of 3 minus 2 or 2 minus 3, whichever way you want to look at, column 2 minus 3 or 3 minus 2, no minus sign, just the difference, and this is going to be $277, and this has to be subtracted from the initial issue price to arrive at the carrying value in the second time period. At t is equal to 12, the interest paid will continue to be 3,500. Now the market interest rate has to be used to calculate the interest expense, multiplied by half because it's a semi-annual interest. If it is an annual interest, you will not use this, and then you do not use the original issue price, but you will use the next carrying value that we computed in the previous row to come up with the new market interest rate. So you will use 107,169 and you will arrive at 3215. This 3215 goes here and the difference equals $285, and this $285 has to be subtracted. So this number, the carrying value, will keep shrinking each time the interest is paid, and finally at maturity the carrying value will become 100,000. The difference will be the difference column finally will be 107,439 minus 100,000. So 7,439 is the premium to be amortized, and the interest paid will continue to be at 3,500 until maturity, and the interest expense will be calculated using market interest rate times half times the previous carrying value. Here are the journal entries for premium amortization. Cash debit 107,439 from the previous slide, and bonds payable credit 100,000. The difference goes into premium on bonds payable. This is when the company raises the money. And then the amortization starts at t is equal to 6 months. So the true interest expense in our case, which we calculated based on market interest rate, was 3223 in the previous slide, and the interest paid out was 3,500. So now the premium on bonds payable is the debit here. And the amount for this equals 277. So this is basically following the table from the previous slide, and we are just continuing the journal entries. As you can see, the interest expense is always debited regardless of whether it's a discount amortization or a premium amortization. Cash on the interest is always credited. The discount on bonds payable versus premium on bonds payable become the opposite of each other in the journal entries. Now if we do a T account for premium on bonds payable, we would start with 7439 credit and write this off or amortize it throughout the interest payment schedule, such that in the end this amounts on the debit side becomes 0, or sorry, 7439, and the amounts on the credit side are also 7439. The last part of this chapter is retirement of bonds. Sometimes the company might have enough money to retire its bonds by buying it back from the open market. Now let us say bonds had a face value of 100,000 and the company is now flush with cash and the project turned out really well, and they are already or they are ready to pay $114,353 in the open market to buy back their bonds and retire it. So the liability is no longer in their books. So the way the journal entries would work is bonds payable would always be debited for the face value of the bond, and cash would always be credited for the actual amount of cash paid on the bond. After that, the company has to see whether it has a premium or discount on bonds payable account pending on this bond. Usually, unless it's a par bond, they will have a balance, because remember the retirement is happening ahead of the normal repayment schedule. So somewhere in between, the company is intercepting the bond and repaying it in the open market by buying back the bonds. So they have this premium on bonds payable account, and let us say it has a credit balance of 6877. Now, this amount should also not be there if the company is retiring its bonds. Just like how when they are retiring the bonds, we debit the bonds payable because the liability would not exist anymore. In the same way, this amount of 6877 pending in the premium on bonds payable account also has to be closed because it's no longer going to be there once the bond is retired. So therefore, we have to debit premium on bonds payable for 6877. Now the debits are not equaling the credits. The difference is the loss on retirement, which is 7476. Now this number I calculated by doing 114353 minus 100,000 minus 6877 equals 7476. So in order to retire a bond, you should know how much cash was paid to retire the bond, what is the face value of the bond, was it a discount or premium bond, and what is the balance in the discount or premium, and then the balancing figure is the profit or the loss. Now if this was a discount bond, you would have bonds payable for the face value, you would have the cash paid out, whatever be the cash, and then you would have the discount on bonds payable, because if you want to close out the discount on bonds payable account, which has a normal debit balance, you have to credit that, and then the balancing entry is going to be your loss or profit. Loss is always debited and profit is always credited. That is your balancing entry.